Hey RealTalkWithEli. It is raining outside, so hopefully it doesn't like thunder and stuff and it affects the video and everything, but I have to get this done today. How many of you see posts that say no wholesalers on them? Do those posts offend you? Well, they shouldn't. Those posts are made by investors who want to be direct to buyer or want to avoid daisy chains. And if you don't know what a daisy chain is, that's basically when another wholesaler gets a hold of someone's property and they send it out to a bunch of people, and then it's just like, it could be several different situations, but in this one, they send it out to a bunch of people, and then this other person gets it and they send it to a buyer, and then the buyer's like, I've already seen this property by like 3 or 4 other people, like I don't want it if it's just going to be tossed around like this. Or even in a situation where you are direct to the wholesalers but someone's pretending to be a buyer, and then you end up with probably like 5 wholesalers on one deal because everybody was pretending to be a buyer and they weren't. If the deal gets done, it's not all that bad sometimes, but most of the time they just don't get done because you have people who don't know what they're doing in them. But if I post something like that, that means that I have a property and my pool of buyers just isn't interested in it, so I'm looking for someone else. And I personally don't advertise publicly anymore because of this. Quick little excerpt. It was just one property I had. It was a duplex, and I finally found somebody who would buy that property at its price range in that area, and he was like, I've seen it by like 7 other people, and I'm like, okay. And there was like a bunch of different prices and stuff. Of course mine was the best price because I actually have the contract and I can negotiate the lowest, but man, it was just crazy. You don't want that. Any post that I made public ended up on someone else's email list, or it ended up going wholesaler to wholesaler. And quite honestly, it is mostly new wholesalers, but there's some scummy people out there who will send out your property without your permission. And so that brings me back to the title of this video. Can you trust wholesalers? And the answer to that is as simple as, can you trust your teacher, your police officer, or even your parent? It's all about who that person is. And I know, it sucks. Hey, how am I supposed to tell if this person is a turd or a professional? Well, you simply ask questions. Some questions will give you the information you need to tell if you can trust that person or not. You can ask, how many deals has that person done? I asked somebody this one time because, like, as we were talking to her, my husband was talking to her at first, and he brought me on the phone because he was like, what's going on? And she didn't sound like she knew what she was talking about. So I asked her, how many deals have you done? And she was like, what? What kind of question is that? She got offended. If you get offended by somebody asking you how many deals you've done, obviously you haven't done many, if any. And that's what I like about openness. Like, I'll admit to somebody, like, look, I haven't done that many deals, so I'm not completely comfortable with this particular thing. Can you walk me through it, or can I ask them a few questions before we proceed with this, because I don't know exactly what this particular thing is, and I don't want to mess it up for everybody else. If you're transparent like that, then people will be like, okay. Some people will try to take advantage of you, but it's not a common thing that happens in every single situation. Most people have patience, and they will be like, okay, well, this is what's happening in this particular situation. And along with asking how many deals I've done, you can ask for a HUD or the little check stamp thingy for proof. A lot of people take pictures of their real estate checks anyway, and you can see the address of the property that they did the deal on their little check stamp or on their HUD document. Because and some people may be iffy about this, but it's just like asking a buyer for proof of funds. I personally have never had to ask another wholesaler for their HUD document because, like, for one, my relationships are built off of I meet this person in person, or I've talked to them. If it's over social media, I talk to them on a regular basis, or I see their interactions on a regular basis. So it's not like they're not actually doing deals. Like, most of the wholesalers I know, they own their own properties as well. They're turnkey providers, so they are selling properties that they have sold in rehab to turnkey investors who just want to buy something that is already cash flowing. Or I have just interacted with them in a way where I know that they are what they're about. Like, they've done deals and I've seen them be able to do deals. But this is for if you're just meeting somebody and they're approaching you about either doing a JV or trying to buy your property. You just want that extra security to know whether you can trust this person or not. And like I said, when you're asking for a HUD document or like a little check stamp or whatever, you're just doing this to protect yourself and your own integrity, basically. Because for one, you have this property under contract, and the person who is selling the house to you is expecting you to be able to close on that deal. And if your buyers just weren't interested in it, you're kind of like in this area where you're like, okay, I have the rest of this time in this contract to find somebody to close on this property so I don't lose this customer. I hate referring to them as customers. I don't really know what to call them. Somebody comment down below what you call the people who you buy houses from or you get contracts with. Because I had this one property, it was a burnout. I had it under contract for $4,000, and somebody approached me saying that they wanted to buy it. They were out of state and everything. And I had pictures of the property already, but they didn't send someone out to. I mean, I'll get deeper into that later. Yeah, I'll just save that story for later. And you can also ask how they'll reach out to their buyers. Not ask for their buyers' information, but ask them how they will directly talk to them. If they mention an email list, then don't work with them. Not necessarily work with them as a person, but maybe they just need to learn, because you don't want them to email their buyers for your property. An experienced wholesaler will not email a JV deal. They will reach out to their buyers who they know will possibly buy that particular property. If they have to email, that means they're fishing for possible interest that they're not even sure of. I will easily say no to a JV offer if I know I don't have buyers in that area, in that price range, or that property style. Like if it's most of my buyers are single family buyers, and if you come to me with a multifamily, if it's more than 3, I really don't have the buyers for you. So I'm not going to waste your time by saying, yeah, I got a buyer, and then email it, and then everybody in the entire city sees it. And many wholesalers do that. They'll be like, nah, I can't help you with that one, man. And you're saying no to money. And think about that. Someone is offering you money and you're saying no to it. Like, you have to respect that, really. Because I could easily just keep pulling you along, pulling your strings, trying to make however many grand off of your property, knowing that I can't close on it, but I'm just keep pushing and keep going, messing up your deal so I can get money out of it, when I can just say no in the beginning when I know that this is not going to work out for the both of us. She's just having a good time. Respect honesty. If someone says no to your offering of 50% of the profit, they respect your time and your efforts. They respect your time and they do not want to waste it. Always just say thank you and move on. And be wary of people who pretend to be cash buyers. You need to screen your buyers as carefully as possible. Many people talk about their experiences on either social media or networking sites. So it can be pretty easy to tell who's fake and who isn't, but it's still good to ask specific questions. And it just goes back to trust overall. Everyone has instincts. Everyone has instincts. And if your gut is telling you that this person is shady, then you don't have to work with that person. Just, say thank you, no thank you, and then you move on, because your gut is telling you that something just is not right. Humans are humans. It does not matter the field that you are in. So whether somebody is a wholesaler specifically or not, it all comes down to who that person is. All the time you hear about shady contractors, lawyers, and all types of professionals. So all you can do is ask certain questions to get enough information about that person. And even that isn't all you need. Even a shady person can have experience under their belt, but a genuine person just has a different way of communicating. Usually when someone's shady, they'll redirect your point from where you were trying to get to. A genuine person will directly answer your question. So let's use an example to put into perspective. I'm going to tell a little story, and then I'm going to use the fake examples. Well, not the fake examples, but like how the conversation could go for you. It was this property, got for under contract for like $4,000. It was a burnout, and someone contacted me. I posted on Craigslist. Someone contacted me, and they were like, "Hey, I'm interested in the property." I was like, "Okay." I sent my contract. It wasn't enough. This was my first contract ever. That I sent my contract to her. She signed it, and then didn't hear from her. I'm like, "Hey, how's progress going?" She's like, "Oh, just a few more days, whatever." It'll be some days where I wouldn't hear from her at all. But email, call, do all types of stuff, and then she'll be like, "My buyer is, in the midst of closing," and I'm like, "I thought you were gonna buy it," and she didn't say anything to that. There was an ignored text. I'm like, "Hey, any update on your buyer?" She's at work, but she works full time, so I'll let you know when she contacts me. And I'm like, okay. So, and then after that, more time. The seller is contacting me during this time, so I'm like, anytime I'm contacting her, either I'm anxious that the seller is about to contact me, or she has already. So then, I think it was like a few days before the contract expired, she was like, that I contacted her again. She was like, "Yeah, her buyer said that she doesn't want to buy it anymore." And I'm like, first of all, you said you're gonna buy it. Then you said you had a buyer, and then you're saying your buyer's buyer doesn't want to buy it. So like, what? It was just a huge waste of time. I ended up, of course, losing the contract, and the seller was kind of pissed, of course, and it was just not a good time. I was discouraged, but also I learned a lot at the same time, because you have to ask certain questions. You can't just go along with the flow, especially when you know that something just isn't going how it's supposed to go. Even though that was my first contract, I just knew it wasn't supposed to go like that. It just didn't seem right. Okay, but here's a general how conversation is not supposed to go. If you're approached by a wholesaler who's pretending to be a buyer and they have never done a deal, how are you supposed to tell? Honestly, it would be pretty easy to tell because they won't know certain terminology, but let's just go with the example. "Hey, I'm interested in 123 Main Street. I saw your ad on Craigslist." "Okay, how would you like to proceed? Can you send me a contract?" "You did your due diligence already?" "Yes." "Do you know how fast you can close?" It should be a few days." "Are you sure you don't need your contractor to assess the repairs?" Every rehabber has their own different, way of rehabbing. And I just gave a general estimate. There's like a $10,000 gap there. You sure you don't want to do a walkthrough? It's fine. You can go ahead and send me the contract. You saw how quickly they were trying to move with no inspection, no negotiations, no questions, nothing. No real cash buyer buys properties blindly like that. Of course, they look at the pictures you post, but that just gives a rough summary of the repairs that may be needed. But every true cash buyer will do a walkthrough. But you sometimes you get to a point with your buyers where they know that you know exactly what they're looking for. So maybe after like your 10th deal with them or something, then they'll probably just buy a property from you without them doing a full inspection. But if someone's just meeting you, they're not just gonna buy it out of your hands like that. This is how a true cash buyer will interact with you. "Hey, I'm interested in 123 Main Street. I saw your ad on Craigslist." "Okay, how would you like to proceed?" For one, the ARV is a little off. I just bought 3 properties within the last 6 weeks, and the comps won't let me sell above 120 when I flip it. So can you go down 10,000 on your price? Can we do a walkthrough to make sure the repairs are correct before we negotiate the purchase price? Sure. After the walkthrough, yeah, the repairs are just about right, so my offer is still the same. Okay, so how about we go down 5,000 instead of 10? You have a deal at 7,000, and that's how it goes. You sign your contracts and you go on. Now, how does it go with a wholesaler? It pretty much goes like this. "Hey, I'm interested in 123 Main Street. I saw your ad on Craigslist." "Okay, how would you like to proceed?" I have a buyer who just bought my last property. It's a few blocks from here, but it's around the same structure. He likes 2-story homes with big yards. Okay, when can you guys do a walkthrough? I'll see if he can come out tomorrow. After the walkthrough, he says he likes it. The HVAC is a little bit older than he would like. So can you go down $2,500? And we're splitting 50-50, right? Yes, $2,500 is fine. And yes, we're splitting it 50-50. With the $2,500 taken out, the total profit for us would be $8,500. So we both get $4,250. Okay, send me your assignment and I'll send him mine. He usually takes 6 days to close with his lender. And it's clear communication, no confusion, straight to the point and open conversation. So it's pretty simple, just trust your gut. Okay, Rainicorns, that's it for this video. I hope you found it helpful and it helps you to basically screen people. I hate when people say in this business, because it's in everywhere you go at all. It's not just in this business where you have to learn how to trust people and learn how to not trust certain people. It is everything and everyone. You just have to grow your own instincts and grow trusting yourself to know whether you trust someone else off of your small interactions, because you don't want to come off as being judgy of someone, but at the same time you don't want to give them so much of a chance that it hurts you in the end. So it's better to protect yourself than try to not hurt someone else's feelings when they have the potential to hurt you. I get it, like in this business in particular, like you have to protect yourself and your business. So I get it when people say in this business, but it's everywhere in anything. All right, see you in the next one. Bye.